Hey everybody, Susan here with Pumpkin Hill Stampers. I have a Stampin' Show and Tell for you today, and we're going to be using the So Santa set again. We're going to do this fun beach scene with Santa. He says, ho ho ho, who needs snow? So those of you who head off to the sunny beaches for your holidays, this might be one for you. Now we're going to be using Bermuda Bay, Coastal Cabana, Calypso Coral, Petal Pink, and Crumb Cake as our watercolor wash in the background. We're going to be using our blends to color in Santa and his board with some detail. And then we're going to top it all off with some Wink of Stella to make that glitter in the sand. So there we go. Now this is a pretty simple card design. I have a standard card base, and this is in Coastal Cabana. I wanted to tie that in with the water. I'm using Sahara Sand as my backer because I just wanted a light framing around my watercolor wash. And then I've got the watercolor paper that I'll do the watercolor wash on. Now, I have already stamped with Versamark and dusted with Black Emboss and then heat set my images. I am actually making these for a swap with Demonstrator, so I'm making like 18 of them. So that's why I have a whole bunch of them, and that's why this is already done. But you could, if you don't want to do the heat emboss, but who doesn't want to do heat emboss? I know, you all love heat emboss just as much as I do. You could stamp with your Memento ink, let that dry, and then you could do the watercolor wash and the blends. Just be careful that when you do the watercolor wash, you don't wash over the Memento too much. We're kind of mixing two mediums, so that's why I went with the Versamark embossing. Okay, so let me go ahead and clear just a couple things off the table since we're going to have lots of things here. So let me go ahead and show you how I put the card together. So like I said, I started with heat embossing. And one of the reasons I chose heat embossing was I wanted kind of a little edge when I was watercoloring up to Santa so that it would not overflow into him so I could color him clean after. So I'm going to put that one there. I'm going to sit down because there's a lot to do here. Okay, so first things first, I have my aqua painter and I have my inks, as you can see over here. So the first one I'm bringing in is Crumb Cake. Now you can squeeze your pad, okay, if your pad is closed, you can give it a squeeze and transfer some ink to the lid. If your ink pad is the newer ones, it's a little harder to squeeze, but you can always just drop some re-inker drops right in the lid. Doesn't even need that much. Just a little drop. And then drop some water in there. That kind of will help spread it out a little bit. Now, what I do with aqua painter before I start on my paper is with a clean brush, I'm just going to come in and kind of paint the area with just water. That kind of wakes up the fibers in the watercolor paper. So when you put your ink down on it, it'll kind of grab it and help it smooth out a little bit. So I've just kind of come along the bottom here with just a clean brush. Now I'm going to mix this in the cover. And now I'm just going to come back in here and kind of paint up to, but not over. Now the words I'm going to go right on over. Okay, and I'm just going back and forth. We're just doing a watercolor wash just to create some background color. I'm going right around the starfish. I'm going to pick a little more color up. Now see how that water just grabbed it and makes it kind of pool around. I can come right in between and just touch up the sand a little bit. And then what I want to do, since I'm using colors right up next to each other, I want to let it dry. Okay? Now I've done that ahead of time. So there's my crumb cake. Okay, now just brush my brush off, clean it up. I'm going to set him aside. Now I'm going to bring in one that's dry. My crumb cake is dry. Now the next color I chose to do was on the opposite end. This is the Petal Pink. So I wanted a nice calm sky, right? So I have my Petal Pink here. I'm going to go ahead and drip just a little rinker in there. Again, I'm going to add a little bit of water right in my lid. Mix that up. Now I'm actually going to do this upside down. So I'm just going to paint it all the way across. Now this is going to blend into the next color. Okay, so from Petal Pink we're going to go to Calypso Coral, and you can paint right over that edge to blend it, no problem. So there's the Petal Pink. Now I'll move to the Calypso Coral. Now if you do it and yours isn't too wet, you can just move from one color to the next. Sometimes I find though that the watercolor paper is very wet and then you end up with color where you don't want it. So now I've got the Calypso Coral. As you can see, I had plenty in my top there. And I'm just going to wash the color across, and see I'm just blending into the pink from above. Okay, so if you want it to be darker, you just add more ink and let it color in your paper. Okay, see how easy that is? Now I'm going to move on. So here's one with the two pinks done on it. Clean my brush. So now I'm moving to Coastal Cabana because it's the lighter of the two. I'm going to add a little drop here. Now, Coastal Cabana is one of those colors they brought back in our color refresh, and I'm glad they did because I really liked this color. So just bleeding that out a little with just water. Okay, now this time I need to be a little patient. I got to come in here along the sand edge. Now this is definitely one where you kind of want it to be dry ahead of time. And I'm just going to be painting with my watercolor brush. Now that's a little darker than maybe I want it, so maybe I should have gone through with my clean brush and added some water to my paper. Then the ink, when I'm brushing it on now, would spread a little bit easier for me. So the wetter your paper, the more your color will spread, but the wetter your paper, the more you have to wait in between colors. So see if I can get in there between the surfboard and Santa's head. I did. Okay, so now the next color we do is going to be darker, so I can go ahead and just clean my brush out right on my paper if I want to, because I want to go darker. So it's just going to blend. Alright, so my last color is Bermuda Bay. So I'm just going to get that wet. Now I am going to come in and get this paper wet, because I do want it to spread a little bit more than it did the last time. So I'm just going to come in and get that wet. Now you can see my aqua painter is clean between colors. Alright, so now I'm going to pick up the Bermuda Bay. Now I do have this scrap underneath so that if stuff runs off, I kind of have a place for it to go. And I don't know if you can see the difference of how that color went on when I pre-wet the paper, but it's much more fluid. So I'm going to add some more color. So I can just come back in, add color right over the top as I want to blend it. Okay, so there is our background. Now as that dries, we're going to switch over and do blends. Now do me a favor, do yourself a favor, okay? So I'm just brushing this out to clean it so it doesn't have color on it. So that's done. Don't add ink and water to your lid and then close up your pad, because all that water is going to dilute your pad. So take a paper towel and wash that out, dry it out before you close your pads up, okay? So there's a little tip for that. Alright, so I'm going to leave all those there. Now I'm going to bring in my blends, okay? So now we're going to paint Santa. I'm just going to flip this over so it's not as wet. And we will do Santa. So his Bermuda shorts have, of course, poinsettias on them. So I'm going to just come in here. Now I'm using the fine tip point, and I'm just dabbing the color into those flower petals. Okay, it is very tiny, so it's definitely detail work if you want to add multiple colors to the image, and I did. So there's that. Then I've got Old Olive. And the same idea. I'm gonna just dot the color on. Okay, and then I'm gonna do this pineapple. Okay, so there's my Old Olive. So now I'm going to use ivory to paint Santa's face and belly and his legs. Don't forget to do his legs. Now, I would predict Santa has as fair skin as I do. He probably doesn't tan a whole lot, so that's why I'm making Santa ivory. But if you wanted to pick a pinker color or a darker color, you certainly could do that. Okay, so there's Santa. So now we're going to do his board. So I decided to stick with the pink and the blue, so I'm using Calypso Coral, using the light Calypso Coral. I'm going to paint his board, and I'm going to do 2 Calypso stripes and then 1 light Bermuda Bay stripe in between. So this board would probably be pretty cute done red and white stripe too, kind of like a candy cane. But you would probably want to use a different color scheme than these kind of Florida colors, but something to think about. Lots of options when you've got a set that we do the coloring on. Alright, so now I'm coming in with my light Bermuda. And the ink really takes to this paper nicely, so you just have to paint very lightly. Okay, so there's that. Oh, I forgot the starfish. Let's color in that starfish. Oh, and we'll go back and color in his shorts and that little umbrella. So lots of Calypso accents here, kind of balance out our color theme. And I'm just going to come right in and paint his shorts, his swim trunks. So let's see, where do we think he is? Florida, Hawaii, Mexico. Where would you go? Well, where would you go for a beach holiday? Alright, so there's that. So now the rest of it actually goes together pretty quick. Before I forget, let me go ahead and do the Wink of Stella. So this is clear Wink of Stella, and I'm just going to brush right over the sand. Give that a little squeeze. Get some more juice out into my brush. So I'm just lightly painting the sand just to give that a little bit of glimmer. Doesn't need a lot, just a little. So it's kind of like a glimmer wash over our watercolor wash. Okay. And then I glittered up his board. My husband said his board would be waxed, so it should be shiny. So I'm going to go ahead and do his board. Okay. So there's our Wink of Stella edition. Okay. So now the rest of it goes together pretty easy. So let me move this aside. Bring in my layers. So the first thing I'm going to do is layer with my snail. I'm going to put my watercolor washed panel on my Sahara sand, and mine's pretty tight with the framing there. It doesn't have a lot of framing. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to add dimensionals. And then that's going to go on the top of my Coastal Cabana. And there we have it. So, and as you can see, they're all going to be a little bit different when you do your watercolor wash, because each time you're going to have a different weight to your brush or ink to your brush or wetness to your paper. So you can see they're all going to be a little bit different. That's kind of the fun part of doing watercolor wash. So I hope you enjoyed the show and tell today. I know it was a little bit long, but for those of you who like to color like I do, it probably was worth watching. So enjoy, have fun. This set is really cute. It's got the Beach Santa, like I said. We've also got the Sugar and Spice and the Santa on the motor scooter. So have some fun with your holiday cards this year. And if you need any help, please reach out and contact me. So as always, thumbs up and comments below are always welcome and appreciated. You can subscribe to my show and tell news, which comes out every Tuesday, if you want the full tutorial. And if you need any help with your orders, please consider shopping with me. Alright everybody, have a great rest of your days, do some fun stamping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!